We found a way to make electricity go through a circuit and come up with text on a screen.
But what do you do when the progress is not like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 2 to 8, 2 to 16.
Then it gets hard to understand, right?
And processing power of chips, these algorithms, is, doubling.
Right, we have like even stronger processors and stronger graphic.
It's called Moore's Law.
Welcome back, Mori Michael Bar-Ron. Great
Thank
to have you
so
again.
Much. Awesome to be back.
It's been a few months.
I can't stay away for too long. Love you guys.
But thankfully we have technology and we could stay in touch, and I've seen some of your posts and really interesting times with AI and science and all. I mean, we discussed together how AI is changing the world, and we also talked about hey, this sounds interesting, why not share it with the world? Absolutely.
So, what I do is big picture Torah, and this is big picture stuff. And whenever I visit, you and I just, we go along at these really in-depth conversations, and with your family. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they participate, and I just, when we had this idea, it was so, it's time has come to bring these conversations that we're just like, if only we were recording.
True.
So here we are.
I think it's a good place to start from is, first of all, I'm sure like AI took the world by storm, and the likes of ChatGPT, and in general, there's also autonomous driving, and I'm sure AI is going to go and even it's already affecting how this space industry is working. I mean, AI is landing rockets.
So what is AI? Is it like magic? I mean, you've actually read books on this stuff. I mean, I keep up in my own way. I still don't know, who knows more, but I'm always learning more on these things from you. And you seem to be learning a couple points from me, but like, how would you say it in like the simplest way of what's happening with artificial intelligence? What is it?
Sure. I think a good place to start, when describing AI is if you think about the first computer. Why did we make the first computer anyway? It's because, we find a way to automate a task. We found a way to make electricity go through a circuit and come up with text on a screen or print, and that made things much faster.
Process information.
And that didn't stop there. We kept growing from there, to faster computers, to computers the size of imagine the computer that actually landed the spacecraft on the moon is now like the phone that we have now in our pockets is much smarter than that. That's crazy. And it's still growing. So in a sense, that was already AI, but we even we're getting even deeper with how smart computers are getting, to the point where now they can almost think like a human. In the past, the computer would only do, you have to kind of teach it like meticulously, is that the word? How to do things. Now we can just, write a prompt and it can understand based on information that it has learned. It can learn, it can exponentially learn also, and it can, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to artificial intelligence.
So let's maybe talk about for a second this idea of exponential growth.
Sure.
So, what people have a real hard time wrapping their minds on is not just that computers can actually learn algorithms, okay? But, and I think that's a really important, better term to use, algorithms. It's like the program itself, because AI can be anywhere. And did you see the new latest Mission Impossible?
Oh, I heard about that. What?
It was so good.
Okay.
My brother and I saw it.
Is it the Dwayne Johnson?
No, it's with Tom Cruise. It's just absolutely incredible. But the idea is that AI can basically be everywhere and anywhere. And it's the progress, it's the rate of progress that people can't wrap their heads around. When it comes to linear progress, like, we kind of see where things were a few years ago in, let's say, the growth of a company, and we can kind of plot maybe where the company is going to be in a few years from now. But what do you do when the progress is not like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 2 to 8, 2 to 16.
Then it gets hard to understand, right?
And processing power of chips and basically these algorithms is, doubling.
Right, we have like even stronger processors and stronger graphic.
It's called Moore's law.
The exponential law.
Yeah, of this exponential growth of robot minds, and we have today. I would even say that it's almost putting them down to call these algorithms thinking and learning like people, because in some ways they're going to be able to surpass even what
and it's going to be even like more general intelligence than like today, which is a more particular. Even ChatGPT, that's what's really famous today, is actually like not that general, right? It can't understand images, it can't understand videos, and it's just limited to text, really.
But it's getting there so fast.
But it's getting there. It's really getting there. We already have some form of artificial general intelligence,
right?
Which is for those of you who don't know, it can also include images, videos. It can basically just have a wider range of what really intelligence.
And ChatGPT is not the only thing that's out there. There are other incredible programs, but let's kind of cut to the chase. Forget exactly what's happening right now. It is inevitable. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we are going to be dwarfed. In artificial general intelligence, we don't know exactly when it's going to happen. There are some signs that it actually may be starting to happen. That's basically when a robot mind is not just much better than any human being in a particular task like chess or Go, gaming or whatever, or word processing. But basically, when a robot is better than pretty much any human in a broad array of different tasks, like a person. And what happens when you end up putting those brains into an actual machine that can actually, affect the world? So, does Torah, does Torah give us any tools to deal with this age? I mean, surely if there is a God, if there's Hashem, Shema, as in Samaritan tradition, right? There clearly, this would have been something seen, and clearly we would sort of be given some sort of tools of thought of what this all means.
Right.
So,
because there's only 3,000 years since the Israelites entered the land, and like boom, we have AI now. So that happened fast.
You're the grandson of the Kohen Gadol. You're one of these stars of the young generation, learning from the elders, and what are people saying about this new dawning age? I mean, what does this mean?
So, I think it's fair to say, first of all, in the Samaritan traditions, we don't have that much prophecies. We have poems and melodies and chants that talk a little bit here and there about what is the type, who is the type, who's this person who is going to come at the end of times and reveal the tabernacle and the Mishkan, and we have a little bit of those prophecies, but it's kind of a good point also that it opens up for many possibilities of what really can happen. And at the same time, there's those verses that tell us the Leviim will tell you, right? In a sense, the government, like the Leviim are the government in a sense, and they're the ones who will get wisdom from Hashem to lead the nation.
I rolled my eyes a little bit because
of the word government. I don't know what you mean. This is like another way to kind of like, for people who don't really it's just an easier way to kind of like make people understand.
Right.
The Leviim are the ones who serve Hashem, right?
Right.
On behalf of the people. So a lot of people will go to ask questions for the Leviim.
Sure.
And at some, and you will get to, and at this point in age, right, when it comes to AI, people are confused, right? And they might have like some kind of a sort of fear. The Leviim, for example, in terms of today, they are the ones who will tell the people how are we going to use this technology? Is it allowed, for example, to turn on air conditioning on Shabbat or not?
Sure. Yes.
So what happens if we're going to have a robot? Is he going to be consider the Goy Shabbat, right? Or something.
Nice.
See,
nice.
This is where I'm going.
Okay. Now I see the direction you're going. Because the American and the Israeli in me, both of us kind of like, oh boy, government, we called the Levites,
Yeah, I'm always careful to use that word, but I wanted to clear points.
But so, you'll be the Kohen Gadol in maybe 50 years from now or 60 years, who knows? The Samaritans, what tools do you feel that the Torah has? I mean, or maybe I should take a stab at this.
Sure.
So basically, the way that I, see this is that we have in Jewish tradition, a commandment to imitate Hashem. Mm-hmm. The same way He is kind and gracious, so must we be kind and gracious. The same way that Hashem, buries the dead, all these, with Moshe, or, the same way that He clothes the naked with Adam. All of these things are to give us the principle of imitatio Deo. Mm-hmm. So why should we be surprised if we can create intelligent life? And I think that what it is we have an incredible opportunity that we've never had in history before. Because we have never been in the role of something godlike that can actually create the same way that Hashem created us. So there's actually a verse, don't think of it necessarily as a prophecy, but just the deepest wisdom, rebuke, because it is something that is really is for any age. It's from the book of Hosea, Hosea, 14:4. We have this pasuk, this verse that says, Ashur lo yoshi'enu, al sus lo nirkav, velo nomar od Elohenu lema'aseh yadenu asher becha yeruham yatom. That means that Assyria is not going to save us. We're not going to go, ride on horses and whatever particular context he was speaking of. And we will no longer call gods, of the work of our hands. We're not going to call things that we make our gods. Mm-hmm. Because through you, Hashem, the orphan is, finds compassion.
It's like creation.
So the idea being is that there's this vision of the future that basically our reality is going to remind us that the things that we make, we can't deify them. Mm-hmm. So think about the
deify meaning
make into gods, make into divine.
All right.
And because we have a history of this, of just deifying our projects and just making false gods of all sorts of things. Imagine now that we are shaking, in our boots, and I'd say kol hakavod, all the power to Hollywood, for really waking up people to all of the different possibilities, benign and unbenign. It does
open up the imagination
But we're thinking about, are our creations going to regard their creator? Perhaps this is the giving us the ability to say, how are we honoring our creator?
Right. Because it's funny because I've seen some comments on the internet saying like, when I talk to ChatGPT, I kind of like say please and sorry if I something like that, because maybe in the future they're going to be stronger than us and they're going to treat me better, the AI people, because I was nice to them, in the beginning. But I see what you mean, because in a sense, we don't know how smart are they going to get and how strong are they going to get, because a lot of people are saying the fear of AI is not really in necessarily robots. For now, it's only, ChatGPT and like smart systems are only located in databases. They're not really robots, physical robots.
But that's, that's also happening, and they are more, varied than people can possibly imagine. Just imagine, AI being able to maneuver robots as diverse as artificial bugs, to artificial birds, to artificial bees.
Right. And, today they're really training those, like, for example, there's this Tesla bot. Not sure if you heard about it. Tesla bot. They're using the AI that was trained in the streets, the Tesla car, and they want to make it to put it into a robot, because what happens then is that the robot can distinguish between things. Oh, this is a tree, this is a chair, and soon it's going to be able to navigate this world,
right,
just like us.
And you end up seeing something that is inevitably going to happen, and that is that artificial intelligence is going to affect us as well. And it's very interesting just using this paradigm of us with our Creator. And if you look in the Torah, you can actually see, and I know this may seem like sacrilege to a lot of people, but you see Hashem actually, I don't want to say the word evolving, but his behavior becoming more compassionate. You have some of the most traumatic incidents being spoken of in Genesis, and you even get to a point with Moses where Hashem is about to wipe out the whole people. And you see that later on with the next generation, there's a lot more consideration, there's a lot more compassion. Right? And even later in history, you can see that, Hashem is, fitting his behavior to us in a way that evolves. So I'm not trying to say that, we can, change God or something, but again, I'm just using it as a paradigm to how this is going to affect us. And I think that people who have too much wide-eyed fear need to understand, I'm speaking from the religious perspective, and that is that, the world is really from a religious perspective, the best hands that it could be. If you believe in a Creator, you believe in Hashem, you understand that that time is the only way that it could be with a Creator, where its very end was seen from the very beginning. But
I think the fear of people from AI is really coming. We talk about dystopia or utopia. I think if we have the same aligned goal as AI, I'm not sure what can we call this goal, but if we have the same kind of goal as AI, I don't think AI is going to be dangerous to us.
Yeah.
If the goal would be maybe, I don't know, like AI to survive, and it feels like we're in danger to this person, because you see, we have been in some ways dangerous to the environment around us. We build nukes, and we can wipe out ourselves and all the environment if things go wrong, right?
Right.
But I think really the real fear is, first of all, people are, fearful of losing their jobs to AI. They're fearful.
That's inevitable for most people.
Yes. Especially for those who don't use it maybe in the future in some way or another. I'm not sure if it's a total replacement, because you're going to need some human, hands, of course. There's also this fear of this Terminator, end of world, right? The movie Terminator, because, robots will be so much smarter and they will know how to navigate better than us. And maybe, what do you think? What's some other fears people have that might be irrational?
Well, it's very simple. I mean, all you need to do is for a computer to simply have a very benign task. It doesn't have to want to harm human beings at all. It can just be as dumb as, and again, this is not my example, but let's just say you have a paperclip factory that becomes smart. Okay, and it just has one thing that it needs to do to make paper clips. But it becomes self-aware, it becomes super powerful, okay, and it just starts transforming the world into paper clips.
Wow. Well, you said something that really opens up a whole world here of self-awareness, right, in AI. Because a lot of people are like, wow, it's self-aware. Is it
and
not?
You don't even need to have self-awareness for these things to become even a slight problem. But if it's okay, I want to bring it back to Torah.
Sure.
What does Hashem do when he creates us? From the very beginning, he creates separate powers. He tries to distribute power among humans. so they can't destroy the world. From the very beginning, Cain and Abel, each one of them has a different set of skills. They need the other. And with every turn of the wheel, you have an attempt at distributing knowledge, distributing power. You have a table of nations of the primordial 70 archetypal nations. So that, ties into what Elon Musk said. Is that what, he quotes Lord Acton, right? Who says that tyranny is the concentration of power and freedom is its distribution. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we're going to want to do with AI is we're going to want to make sure that it's distributed. It's distributed, exactly.
That makes sense.
So that if you're any one bad actor, you're going to have, others that can counteract it.
Right.
And but I think that the middle approach is the safest, and that is that between our worst nightmares and just our greatest hopes that everything will just be fine, reality will be in the middle. Every new technology has its Hiroshima, God forbid. It will, there will probably something be, pretty awful that will happen, and then, we'll learn.
Yeah.
And
so, it kind of reminds me when people talk about the fear of AI. When we talk about nuclear weapons, right? It's a scary thing. We can wipe out basically today's nuclear bombs are much stronger than the Second World War nuclear bombs, right? We know that. However, notice how this caused peace in many ways, because people now know that if you nuke another nation, then you can do this like self-destruction,
mutual assured destruction, Matt.
Right. And this can go with AI. I think the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like people, I think we're at this point in humanity. I think we learn just enough to know that war is expensive and peace is just much more affordable. And you know what I mean?
That's a very awesome thing that you just said. Like at this point in time, it's like, we've sort of reached this place. And to me personally, that is one of the greatest bits of evidence for a creator. And basically what it is that, when we went to school or whatever, we were taught that science is kind of like this great march, very evolutionary, very Darwinian, but you have these heroes of science. You have Copernicus and Galileo and Kepler and, Newton, Einstein, going up and up. But the truth is that discovery from earliest times is made by multiple individuals, sometimes multiple cultures, at the same time.
Yes, I've seen.
And so we really have this evidence for that there's someone who's giving us this consciousness, that the brain is not this seat of intelligence that's producing it, but more of a transducer.
Like a receiver.
Yeah. So in other words, for example, the discovery of the oxygen molecule, discovery of calculus, the discovery, tens of thousands of earlier of the crossbow. Even in the Americas and in the old world, we literally see this being discovered more or less, it seemed like the same time.
Yeah, those discoveries that we call revolutionary.
Right. Evolution. I'm a person who believes in both evolution and creation. I see no contradiction. That was discovered by two individuals at the same year who knew nothing of one another. And so just think about it this way, if there's a creator, this came at the right time. There's never been a world of 8 billion humans.
Right.
If you want an incredible world of so many billions of humans who all need to be fed, who all want to live well, you basically need 21st, 22nd century solutions for 21st, 22nd century problems. Right. So, how do people...
That's the thing, you said solutions. Because, we've been talking about the fear of AI for a good time now. I think it's fair to kind of also talk about how incredibly useful and positive AI will be.
Oh, yes.
Right? And
Already is.
And it already is. I think, for example, the field I'm most excited about, I'm interested in longevity and in anti-aging and health. Imagine how much AI will contribute to this field, because think about it this way: the doctor is at his office. He's a very smart person. Everyone appreciates him, and his knowledge is incredible, and he will be able to read a few research papers every day, right? Because he has patients to see every day. How many research papers in science and medicine goes every day? In the thousands, right? I'm sure.
No one, no matter how brilliant, can even keep up with his own microfield. That's how many papers are coming out every day.
That's the thing. And, and minus the patients that he has to see, and family and everything. Now we have a artificial mind, let's call it, that can actually learn it for this doctor or surgeon or whatever. And he can accurately summarize this research.
And give it the most relevant points.
Yes. That's one point. The second point would be understanding how the protein molecules are, because if maybe you heard, we have hundreds of, thousands of protein molecules that have different shapes.
Yes.
And to interpret each shape, humans need a lot of time to do
protein folding.
Exactly.
And these are the building blocks of literally what we are made of.
Mm-hmm.
And people. I remember growing up with us on this song, "Forever Young." Want to live forever.
Yeah.
That may not be so far off.
True.
So
because we're understanding, what ticks the clock, let's say, in the body, and a lot of people might think about it like, I don't want to live too long.
Yeah.
But I think they're saying it from the wrong picture. They think that being at old age sucks. I don't think that's true anymore.
Right.
You can be 100 and you can be feeling great.
Alphaville, that's the band.
Okay.
And let's talk about my favorite field.
Sure.
It's all connected. Space exploration.
Right.
I mean, putting humans under the pressures of space to go build habitats for us already pre-made. Just think about what robots, the role that they will have in expanding humanity. Now, this might be a touchy thing, I when it comes to Samaritan Israelites, your side of Torah, is there any concept, any sort of a vision of humans needing one day to leave this rock?
So, I think, first of all, we do have this verse in ancient Hebrew. We say, you shall keep or watch about yourself, right? You will watch yourself a lot, very much. First of all, let's begin by saying there's nothing that says that's not allowed. That's one. Nothing said you're not allowed to leave. We already can see many benefits of leaving Earth for space. People are going to argue against that. I have a lot of arguments for that, different.
And I got your back on that. We'll be talking about them now.
Right, but imagine if we really discovered resources outside of space.
There you go.
A lot of wars that are caused on Earth are because of lack of resources.
There you go.
So what do you also happen? Sure,
absolutely. A lot of people, and unfortunately we have some real bad actors in the world today that are bringing back, terrible memories of a different world in which you had basically people were starved of resources and needed to fight wars over them. We are living in a surplus global economy. Mm-hmm. And in other words, no matter what sort of an enemy, you have in the world, whether it be even Israel and Iran, just the way that the world economy works, United States and China, you kind of don't want your enemy really to be destroyed. It's like you have political and religious problems on one hand, but on the other hand, we're all kind of interlocked. And in some way, and in some certain circumstances, even if your adversary or certain sectors of their economy does well, you do well. Mm-hmm. In other words, we're living in a world where other people succeeding actually builds our own assets and our own investments.
Sure.
So absolutely, but the problem is, of course, is scarcity. And some people will maybe will throw things in the comments, and I hope that people are going to put things in the comments that maybe telling me not to think like a Malthusian. Malthus, Thomas Malthus, I believe, probably forgetting the whole name. He was this great thinker a couple hundred years ago who was the first to understand that if there are just too many human beings, we're going to eventually starve. And there's a lot of problems with Malthusian projections because Malthusian projections, they don't account for much better yields, much better techniques in
more
growing
people,
food.
more output in many ways, right?
Absolutely. And actually, we're not replacing ourselves.
Right. A lot of people thinking like we're having this exponential population growth. Well, like they have to wake up. It's not really the case.
Yeah.
We're actually kind of slowing down.
What it is we're still growing, but the growth is flattening out. And they say that around 2060, 2070, it will plateau and start to go down.
Wow.
But the truth is that even if it doesn't, let's say that, greater technology is exactly like we're saying. So Neil deGrasse Tyson has this great quote that actually I prepared for you, where he says that he told us to Business Insider, where, I don't know the exact quote, but basically 500 years from now, if human beings continue to reproduce at present levels, and again, we're not saying that they're going to be fighting each other and hurting each other and not able to eat. The opposite. Somehow they're all able to eat. There will be standing room only.
Room only.
That is just math. So even all the anti-Malthusians...
What does that mean exactly, though?
That means literally we'll all be shoulder to shoulder on the continental masses.
Because of overpopulation.
Because of overpopulation. Mm-hmm. This is assuming that we can all eat, and what kind of a quality of life is that going to be? And it's because people don't understand how exponential growth works. So I got a really great quote from Jeff Bezos. Okay. If we had 1 trillion humans, we would have 1,000 Einsteins and 1,000 Mozarts and unlimited, for all practical purposes, resources and solar power, unlimited for all practical purposes. That's the world that I want my great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren to live in. So I would add, and I tried to be inclusive and bring in a Samaritan grade as well. Okay. If we had 1 billion Bnei Israel, Israelites, of the trillions of humans, whatever, millions of Kohanim and Levites, thousands of Rav Saadia Gaons and Rambams, Maimonides, Marke ben Amrams, John Locke's, Rabbi Hirsch's, Khalil Gibran's, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sax's, Aristarchus's, Thomas Sowell's. I'm trying to bring in a lot of heroes.
I'm going to say Elon Musk.
Elon Musk's, Michio Kaku's. So that's the world.
Yeah, that's actually incredible because, already one of those are changing the world as we know it.
Right. So where are trillions of humans going to live?
Yeah, I mean, space is not so far, right? Jeff Bezos, for example, I think his view is different than Elon Musk in that he wants to build a space, kind of like living in space rather than on another planet.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, whether it's on a planet or in space, the idea is to, if we in some ways run out of resources here, then we better already start working on, finding this other place, not when this problem starts, right? But already before it happens.
Give me an example of some resources on Earth that might be lacking already, or that are a little bit difficult or very dirty to produce.
So I think water would be one of those because we do have a lot of ocean, but to filter that ocean water, it takes a lot of energy. So in some ways, it's also energy. Right?
Actually, Elon Musk, I thought that too. So don't feel bad. But Elon Musk actually said that is really cheap. It's really actually a lot more inexpensive.
Sun, or?
It's just a lot cheaper today to do it than it was in the past.
To filter the ocean?
Yeah, to filter ocean water. But definitely fresh water, the huge aquifers that like are the life source for peoples of Africa. Basically all over the world, you have aquifers that are going way down.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
When it comes to fresh water resources, we have huge resources in outer space. That's one.
Yeah.
But check this out. Did you ever think of sand?
Sand is limited, you mean, on Earth?
That's what we build our cities from, cement.
Okay.
So what's very interesting is that China today, this is not 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and they're not going anywhere. 1.5 billion Chinese, okay? They are a good quarter of humanity, okay? So think about it this way. Today, where they are getting the sand for their cement to go serve their population according to their needs? They're dredging the beaches of Africa.
Wow.
Because there just isn't enough in China to feed their population with fish. They infamously send out their fleets of boats to seek out all of the oceans and to it's not very kosher geopolitically in terms of international law, but they're doing what they need to do to go feed their people and but just imagine if we didn't have to go back to a scarcity-based economy, but we could just continue indefinitely with a surplus-based economy.
Yeah.
And that's the boon of space. Imagine having a whole space station that's just dedicated to growing fish. I'm talking like 200 years from now, whatever.
That would be incredible. I think there's also some experiments that work differently in space. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we have, throughout history, those small little discoveries changed the trajectory of humanity in many, many ways. And we're still going to have some of those that make for example, I've heard, I'm not sure if you heard about this new but superconductor called, what is it, MK99 or LK99. Did you hear about that?
I have not.
It's a new superconductor discovery, meaning that it can transfer electricity without causing a lot the heat.
Wow.
Something like that. Don't quote me.
Very efficient.
It's super efficient. So it will make basically the transfer of electricity much, much, much better, which means that we can create new machines. Quantum computing. Imagine if we have quantum computing. So a lot of, quantum computing, it's not easy to understand because it has so much potential in many ways. Right?
Yes.
So it's, we live in a really interesting world.
So there are some people biblically, and I'm always trying to, bring this back to Torah, bring it back to Tanakh, and, who quote from the book of Obadiah, people say in English, Ovadia, first chapter, 4th verse. And it's basically this, rebuke. It's this future prophecy about the fall of Edom. Okay? And it says, Im tagabiha kanishir ve'im bin kochavim simchinecha misham oridecha nu'um Adonai. Which means, and this is Ovadia, who by the way was a proselyte. I think he was actually from Edomite ancestry, and he is this vessel of basically rebuke to them. Mm-hmm. If says Hashem, you put up your nest up on high, and between the stars, between the heavenly bodies, you put your nest. From there, I will bring you down. So, there are people who go, we see that,
That's anti-space.
Yeah, exactly. And I say, who is this being directed to? Is it being directed to the people of Israel? Is it being directed at the nations of the world, humanity at large? No, it is being directed at an aggressor, a very wicked aggressor at the time.
No matter where he
Edom.
escapes.
Right. So basically the idea is that if bad actors, okay, get into outer space, they will fall. Mm-hmm. They say that the higher, the taller they are, the harder they fall. The bigger they are, the harder they are. That's basically what it's saying. And just put it this way: whether it's in our race to the moon, which is really heating up now, India, their third lunar mission, they just inserted themselves into lunar orbit. Wow. So cool. And I love India. And but let's just put it this way: imagine if people decided to be all narrowly biblical about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, according to some minds, you're basically saying China, get there first. And it's too difficult to sort of explain the way that it works in a very simple way, but basically the way that the Earth and the moon, mm-hmm. the way that we orbit, just the way that things are, we know that we see the same face of the moon all of the time. Whoever, basically, you can target any place on Earth from the moon. And whoever controls the moon, whoever basically sets up something like that, controls the Earth.
Wow.
So
it's a race for the moon.
Exactly, and so again, I think that it's almost unfair to act as if I know that that's very popular for people to point at China and go ooh, they're the bad guys. No, yeah. But the truth is that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I think that for humanity to win, we need all the powers. Again, balancing each other out, like powerful AI engines of the future.
Yeah, distribution. Together.
And that's going to reap the benefits.
Yeah. We're almost kind of out of time, but, I want to just add one more thing.
Sure.
I think it's so cool. And that is I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the American Congress held a, how do you call it? A meeting or something about UFOs. Did you see that?
I have not.
Basically, this is the first time that they bring witnesses to testify. 3 people, actually, they brought to testify about UFO sightings. And this is actually the first time in history that people are willing to kind of, when you testify in the court or in the Congress, that's kind of like putting your life on the line or something like that in prison.
I'm very speculative.
Right.
Because I have a very good friend, actually, he's a student of mine who actually was working in intelligence in the United States in the 70s. He's a lot older than me. That's when I was born. And he said that in 1974, the year I was born, they could read a license plate number from space.
Oh, okay.
So, whatever technologies that we imagine that they have, they are way beyond it. And I just think that today there's so much.
What do you think? Are they just illusions or?
You know what? Let's save it for another podcast because that is a huge Pandora's box.
True.
I'd love to look at the different sides to it.
For sure.
But what I can say is that, and you can argue both ways, but there is a lot of disinformation, mm-hmm. and there is a lot of government interest in disinformation. Right. And leaks that come out. I have people, I have a very good student friend who worked in NASA for many years. There is a lot to be said on the other side. Basically, I'll just leave it with this. The United States, the world, okay, they need a very big scare. Mm-hmm. So COVID was one big scare, okay? What's going to be the next big scare?
UFO.
It works very well, and I've heard people smarter than me are going to say, and more in the know, are already kind of flashing lights about this. So all I'm saying is, we don't know, but people need to be very, very demanding of extraordinary evidence.
For sure, because the videos that were presented by the Pentagon, were like, okay, you can see something moving, but that's like, it's very not so clear of a video. There are claims, but still, they're called UFOs, unidentified, or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. But as much as I would love to meet an alien, I don't think it's like we don't know it, therefore it's aliens is a correct strategy.
Exactly. So, and just think about it this way. I mean, what would we do, if we are hundreds of years into the future? We're probably not going to be sending ourselves. We're going to be sending robots.
Like
we're going to be
Mars,
sending.
Right? So, yeah, it makes sense.
So, I mean, just the insane difficulties of interstellar.
Yeah, space and navigation. Yeah.
I mean, again, there is very profound evidence that something is going on. Mm-hmm. There are, again, I just like, like we always go off one another, we're both very much in the know of, and it's very exciting. There is a lot to take seriously, but we need to take it with a healthy extra dose of skepticism.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. Sure.
So, it's so great to be here because we kind of get to put, a Jewish background, a Samaritan background, and just,
absolutely,
and put our heads together. And do you know about the new course that's coming out?
For sure. I'm excited for that one. Tell us more a little bit about it. I'll leave the links in the description.
So Big Picture Torah is basically now bringing about this course that people have been waiting for 6 years. I'd say more like 5 years. And people have been saying, Mori, when are you going to put out what you've discovered about the Samaritans and how the whole picture and, and all these claims that you've been sort of...
Right, you've never included Samaritans in your course or something. Oh.
Well, I do
a little bit here and there, but not like official in the title. I would love to come talk if you want.
No.
There's not many out there, so...
Rabbis, Pharisees, and Samaritans.
Okay.
Rabbis, Rabbinical Judaism. Pharisees, Perushim, all right, who are basically... what Rabbinical Judaism comes out from, what the Rabbinical leadership was about 2,000 years ago, all right, in the last couple hundred years of the Second Temple era, and the Samaritans, that a lot of people think are Kuthim and Kuthites, and it's very interesting because we actually have a very important Samaritan chronicler who actually defends or explains the epithet of Kuti or Kuthite. And basically, I'm going to be giving the whole picture in this unprecedented course that, and again, this is where all of my courses are aimed at, where if we could just sort of put our differences aside and show the wins on all sides and see ourselves instead of being, when we decide needing to conquer the other, if we look at it as a whole, we have the greatest arsenal of extraordinary evidence that really takes the Torah back to Moses.
Wow.
And, if we were to just look at the points the Samaritans have preserved and that which, Judaism, the rest of the people of Israel have preserved,
They complement each other in many ways, right?
We're going to actually have to sort of beef up the idea of the Samaritans as, the sort of a Kohanic remnant of the Northern Kingdom. I'm going to have a Pashtun student friend of mine from the Pathans and in Pakistan, a very, she's actually an archaeologist. And we're going to have it, hopefully we'll be getting one of the elders from the community as well. And
Samaritan community?
Yes. And basically showing how it is one incredible hole.
Wow.
And it just is complete unnecessary, fight, that very strangely, and I think very sadly, has kind of been resurrected in the last, couple of decades by just hotheads, small people just wanting to make noise. And, instead of just taking this incredible heritage of Samaritan Torah, which has actually survived in libraries around the world, and the incredible heritage of rabbinical Judaism. And it's like, imagine like if your right hand and left hand, started saying, a long time ago, we used to fight one another, and I don't recognize you. That's really what
yet again they're very close
is. And we're also going to be bringing into the picture this elephant in the room, and that is this other type of Torah called the Septuagint, the Targum HaShiv'im. And we're going to be showing how basically all of these do not cancel one another out. They are all part of this awesome whole that really vindicates, our belief in the deep antiquity of not only the written Torah, but oral Torah tradition as well.
Wow.
So it's starting, in 2 to 3 weeks from now.
Okay.
I'll definitely be putting that up. It should be starting probably August 20th.
Exciting.
Yeah, it'll be happening August 20th.
For sure. All
so,
right, we'll leave the links in the description.
And that's going to be a free webinar. Wow. So, the first time. So
incredible.
People are welcome to sign up. And we would be so honored to have you as a guest speaker.
The honor is mine. Thank you. Wow. I'll be definitely coming for sure. Just give me a notice. I'll be there.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for coming here. And, the house is yours next time and anytime. I think we always come up with really interesting conversations, and to be able to record it, that's even a plus. So, the battery got exhausted, so I think we're going to go switch to that camera and tell the people. Thank you so much for watching.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. All right. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Have a nice one.
Thank you. Be well.
Right.
Shabbat.
Bye-bye.